Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. In the last episode of The Bad Batch, we meet up once again with the Martez Sisters, who first appeared in the last season of the Clone Wars and some filler episodes between the Bad Batch's introduction and the epic Siege of Mandalore. Ahsoka Tano first meets the sisters on level 1313 after being kicked out of the Jedi Order. Trace is the younger sister, and she's a mechanic and pilot and generally a really honest and decent person, if not a little bit naive. Her sister, Rafa Martez, was more of a hustler, or at least she saw herself as a hustler, and tried to get involved in criminals and generally sketchy individuals. The Martez sisters provided shelter for Ahsoka Tano, and they eventually also show her and the audience that the rest of the galaxy doesn't necessarily have a very positive view of the Jedi. Shocking, I know, right? Well, you see, what happened was the Martez sisters lost their parents indirectly because of the Jedi operation to hunt down Zero, so they harbor some ill will towards the Jedi. So in the most recent Bad Batch episode, Clone Force 99 runs another odd job for the Trandoshan fixer Sid. This time she wants them to collect a tactical droid from a decommissioning plant on Corellia. Apparently, the newly created Empire has a lot of enemies, and all of those enemies now want to know how to defeat the clone troopers. And so a tactical droid with all of its battlefield experience against the clones has just become an extremely hot commodity for anti-Imperial forces. During this mission, Clone Force 99 bumps into the Martez sisters, who are after the same exact thing. They are forced to work together and escape the factory once they trigger a lockdown and get surrounded by security droids. During the skirmish, the tactical droid is actually destroyed, but not before Tech downloads all of its internal data. Hunter decides to give this data to the Martez sisters because they claim to be working for forces that are fighting against the Empire. But at the end of the episode, as the Martez sisters make it back to the Silver Angel, a mysterious individual contacts them, most likely their own boss who's given them this mission. Rafa Martez gives a report about what's happened during the mission and mentions encountering Clone Force 99. She also says she knows where to find Clone Force 99, something that seems to interest her boss. So my question today is, who exactly are the Martez sisters working for, and are they hostile or friendly or neutral towards Clone Force 99? Could they even be the ones sending Fennec Shand after Omega? No stone must be unturned in this investigation, so let's take a look at all of the potential suspects, including some less likely ones. When Ahsoka Tano met the Martez sisters, they were even less experienced than when we see them in the Bad Batch episode. While Trace is mainly obsessed with fixing ships and piloting, Rafa is trying to keep them afloat by taking odd jobs from various underworld scum that inhabit level 1313. It seems like through their incompetence, they have collected a great amount of debt. One of those individuals who they owe debt to is Pintu Sonel, a loan shark. He sends thugs after the Martez sisters in order to collect. After a bit of a scuffle with Pintu Son's thugs, Rafa eventually gets another job and takes the upfront payment from that job to settle her old debt with Pintu. This new job is for a Twi'lek named Lokan and his business partner. The Martez sisters are clearly going on a very dangerous road. They're just exchanging one debt for a new debt. And so when Ahsoka Tano joined the Martez sisters, she was exactly what they needed. Ahsoka's skills really made up for a lot of the inexperience the sisters had. But once Ahsoka Tano leaves them, the Martez sisters once again become, two-bit street criminals who aren't really capable of performing high-end jobs. So they must go back to Coruscant, which also means they'll have to return to the same fixers they were using down on level 1313. I'm sure even small-time fixers know what the value of a tactical droid is, and because Coruscant is the center of the galaxy, you're not going to have to really go far to try to sell something illegal. There's always someone willing to buy stuff. And also, I don't necessarily trust Rafa Martez just yet. We don't really know if she's actually working for anti-Imperial forces. She could just be trying to make a quick buck, because that's been her MO so far. One of the more complicated jobs that the Martez sisters get involved in is a spy shipment that is supposed to go from Kessel to the Pike Syndicate on Obadiah. This job was honestly completely out of the league of the Martez sisters' capabilities. I mean, Trace barely manages to avoid getting arrested by the Republic Navy after flying right through a restricted airspace while trying to leave Coruscant. And when they pick up the spice shipment from Kessel, the naive sisters don't even notice the slaves working in the mines or the fact that their spice was going to be turned into some pretty hard drugs. The reality was they had signed on to be drug mules, and when Ahsoka Tano finally explains to them what exactly their situation is, Trace thinks it's a good idea to dump all of that spice out into hyperspace. The situation goes from pretty bad to pretty much unsurvivable. You never cross the Pike Syndicate by doing foolish stuff like that. Luckily, the Martez sisters have Ahsoka Tano, a very skilled ex-Jedi, on their side, and they manage to get out of their tricky situation. But along the way, we find out that the Pikes are indeed still working for Maul and his Shadow Collective. Now, Maul and his criminal syndicate might be looking for more manpower in the form of Separatist battle droids. Also, Maul might have some interest in a clone like Omega, especially if she is Force sensitive. But still, the Martez sisters' experience with the Pikes was quite terrible the first time around. I doubt they'll want any further relations with them. And for now, what we know about Maul is that he's trying to keep a low profile and not piss off the Empire too much. So it also seems unlikely that the Shadow Collective are the ones who have hired the sisters. While the Martez sisters were trying to escape the Pikes, Bo-Katan and her Night Owls are also there looking for Maul. The sisters end up meeting Bo-Katan, and although they don't have much of a conversation, they now do have a connection. We know for sure that the Mandalorians are going to be fighting against the Empire. After the Siege of Mandalore, Bo-Katan is put into a leadership position by the Jedi, but shortly after Order 66, Bo-Katan loses that position and flees into exile. She would definitely be a person interested in using a tactical Separatist droid to get more information on how to fight these clone troopers. I'm not really sure why Bo-Katan would want Clone Force 99 though. They already have plenty of good fighters, I guess adding a few more wouldn't hurt. Now, Ahsoka Tano seems like the other obvious choice. After all, she has an extensive relationship now with the Martez sisters. But it's pretty unlikely for her to be hiring individuals at this point in her life. We know that Ahsoka Tano, shortly after Order 66, went on the run. She was keeping an extremely low profile, working odd jobs as a mechanic, and basically she was trying to stay out of the sight of the Empire. Survival was key. Her close relations to the clone troopers and Captain Rex, however, would make her interested in a bunch of rogue clones. We're not sure where Captain Rex is at this point, but he's becoming increasingly important to Clone Force 99 because he does know how to remove his inhibitor chip, and eventually I think he does help Gregor or maybe even Wolf to do this, and maybe he'll also help Clone Force 99 because Wrecker is starting to show some very troubling signs. But it is very unlikely that Captain Rex would want to use the Separatist battle droids against the clone troopers. He has a deeply rooted hatred and mistrust for droids, as we'll see later on in the Rebel series. Captain Rex would most likely destroy a tactical droid's head if he were given one. So I don't think he's the one behind this either. Now, I really like the idea of Cham Syndulla, the Twi'lek resistance fighter, being the one after the Separatist tactical droid. Cham Syndulla actually carries out a brilliant assassination attempt against Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader by using a massive fleet of decommissioned Separatist Vulture droids. It's almost successful. If anyone could utilize the tactical droid's data properly, it would be this legendary guerrilla warfighter. The other guerrilla warfighter who could use the Separatist tactical droid to his advantage would be Saw Gerrera. He hasn't completely fallen into madness at this point, and we see him earlier on in the Bad Batch orchestrating the evacuation of refugees. Although Saw Gerrera fought against the Separatist droids, his flexibility and desire to win on the battlefield means that he would use any tool at his disposal to get rid of a hated enemy. Saw Gerrera also has previous contact with Clone Force 99. It's very possible that he would still want to recruit the badass mutant clones to help out his cause. Now, even as democracy crumbled down around him, it was really Bail Organa who remained true to the Republic, democracy, and the Jedi. Without his help, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda would have never had a place to meet and plan their next moves post-Order 66. Bail Organa successfully used his cover as the senator from Alderaan to hide his more illicit rebel activities. And that's because if Coruscant was the nerve center of the galaxy, then Alderaan was the heart of the galaxy, and Corellia was its armpit. Politicians from Alderaan were seen as individuals with moral authority, class, and culture. Not even Darth Sidious dared touch Bail Organa in those earlier days. And so Bail Organa would just use the cover of his diplomatic cruiser and diplomatic missions to set up the beginnings of the Rebel Alliance. Bail Organa would help hide the Skywalker twins and even directly adopts Leia as his own. He also recruits Ahsoka Tano to the cause. Without Bail Organa, it's very likely that the rebellion would have never started as early as it did. So Bail Organa definitely fits the description that Rafa gives us of an individual who is fighting against the Empire. Bail Organa would also love to recruit a bunch of clone commandos like the Bad Batch to his cause. So guys, those are my potential suspects for who the Martez Sisters are working for. Let me know in the comment section below if I've missed anyone that you think belong on this list. And also, let me know if you think this is all connected somehow to Fennec Shand and whoever's going after Omega. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content about the Bad Batch. As usual, thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.